Clairo Immunity. Clairo, a former lo-fi bedroom pop musician, now kind of R&B art pop musician with this new record. Not a musician that particularly impressed me to begin with. You know, I found some of her early work, tracks like Flamin' Hot Cheetos, Pretty Girl, particularly fucking awful. Really ugly, cheesy production on those tracks. Very underwritten songs too. Just not really showcasing much of anything to get excited about in my personal opinion. That Diary 001 EP to me was an absolute fucking snooze. Apparently she's like an industry plant too. Apparently her dad like is super successful and is the reason she's famous. I heard some shit like that. I don't really care. I don't really care if she's in are the songs good? If the songs are good, I don't give a one fuck. You could have everything handed to you on a plate, bro. Do you make bangers or not? That's all I give a fuck about. And in my opinion, Immunity is good. Immunity is very good. I think it shows quite a bit of maturity for Clairo, and I think it has some of the most wonderfully delicate and gentle production I have heard on an album all year, and some really nicely moving lyrics. Not the most wordy lyrics in the world. There are some moments, especially on the track Impossible, to where I feel like what she is saying is quite badly undercut by her pretty flaccid performance. But her kind of shy and vulnerable tone of voice, I think, elevates quite a few of the more subdued and personal songs here. Take the opening track AOTY, for example, which this track is an ode to a close friend of hers named Alexa that has just kind of stuck by her from the beginning, and she's just sort of spilling out how grateful she is for all of her support over the years. It's just a really touching and personal track that's just peppered with these distant piano keys. It makes the whole thing just feel so genuine and passionate, and I think it's a really moving little song. I also love the track White Flag too, which shows her singing on top of some nice wavering synth pads that really beautifully elevate her incredibly impassioned melodies on this song. I think this track is kind of showing her find closure in addressing a past relationship of hers, and that introspection is in full display with these lyrics, and I think she does a great job of making every line and every word sound like it's coming truly from the heart. And she is no stranger to coming through with a pretty decent hook or groove here and there on some of these tracks, like Bags, for example, which has a really lovely chorus. This track painting a picture of a very one-dimensional relationship to where you're not really able to read the other person, and you're just kind of like stuck in a weird little purgatory where you're unsure of where the relationship is going, and I think she paints that picture quite vividly with her writing. And the steady drum groove and vibrant pianos on this track just give it the extra bit of character it needs to be a pretty memorable cut on this album. I also love the jangly guitars on the track Softly too. They really carry the song quite nicely, and her voice is actually pretty impressive on the final track in my opinion, which I actually think sounds even better when it's accompanied with these like childlike choir vocals a bit later on. They sound like they're coming from like children or something. They just really perfectly complement her tone of voice too. And then this closing track, which by the way is like 7 minutes long. In the second half, it transitions into this really soulful little beat that just makes my ears prickle. I also think she does a solid job of building a pretty nice, hazy, dreamy atmosphere on the track North, which kind of pairs up these kind of summery, delicate guitar tones alongside some more kind of fuzzier electric guitar tones too. So, you know, you got a bit of instrumental diversity on this thing, but ultimately I will be honest, there isn't the most variety in the world on this project. That is probably my biggest downside with it. Some of these tracks feel like they are structured identically. Some of them just start off with a 4x4 drum rhythm, which gets kind of built upon by some nice, pleasant little guitar plucks or some piano chords. It's all just kind of safely shooting for something gentle. And it's nice, it's passive, but it can make this thing drag on a bit. It feels a bit longer than it actually is, in my opinion. Just because it's all so low-key and quiet, and her voice, her tone of voice never really changes significantly across this whole thing. She's not got the most versatility in the world as a singer. And again, like I said earlier, in the case of songs like Sofia and Impossible in particular, which Impossible, that track is all about her kind of refusing the urge to reunite with someone from her past, because she knows it's not really good for her to not move on like she should, but she just kind of has that temptation lingering in her head, and she wants to kind of push it away. The way she frames it on this track, it does feel very sort of sentimental and personal to her, but her performance just does not really quite sell that, which means a few of these songs don't really quite have the emotional impact I think they want to have, but that's something that could absolutely be improved upon with later releases, with more and more confidence as she releases new songs, new music and all that. But I think she did a really solid job with this record. I've enjoyed listening to it quite a lot actually, and I would very gladly gladly come back to these tracks in the future. So I'm gonna give it a 7. I thought it was quite solid, man. I was really surprised because I was never a Clairo fan to begin with, but I think she matured quite a lot and delivered a really solid album. I really enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of the album in the comments. If you thought it was boring as fuck, I can understand that. If you thought it was lovely, then hell yeah, shout out to you. Shout out to you. Just let me know what tracks you like off this thing. Let me know what you want to see from Clairo in the future. Let us discuss whatever you want to discuss. Just, yeah, man, let's fucking get it. Yeah, thank you for watching. I love you all. Bye.